Why is Beowulf so awesome? That is a question for the ages. One of the greatest epic heroic tales of all time, Beowulf is an anglo-saxon epic poem, written down most likely in the 11th century, although it is almost certainly much older than that in its original conception and oral tradition. It is very likely that the story began as a pagan oral tradition and then was Christianized and ultimately written down in its current form. Beowulf is one of the great stories that comes down to us from the Middle Ages. And quite simply, Beowulf is awesome. It is a fantastic story, and it is a magnificent epic poem. So the question is, why is Beowulf so awesome? Well, there are a number of reasons for that. But to start, I will give you a general overview of the story, and then work to explain why it is so great. The story of Beowulf begins with King Hrothgar, who is an aged king who lives in a great hall called Heorot. Hrothgar built Heorot for feasting and celebration and uniting of his people. And so as they gather together and celebrate and dance and sing and feast, all of this joyful noise is disruptive to a monster by the name of Grendel. Grendel is a beast of pure evil, a monster of unspeakable power and might, a descendant of Cain, the first murderer. And he hates the joyful noise that he hears from Heorot. And so he begins hunting. And he becomes the haunt of Heorot, slaughtering men and women in the night, until it becomes a place of terror and despair. And King Hrothgar is driven to great grief because of what has happened to his once beloved kingdom and great hall. Until one day Beowulf shows up. And Beowulf tells Hrothgar that he will face the monster Grendel. He will take on this beast. And he will do so without armor, without sword, without weapons. He will fight the beast hand to hand. And so Grendel comes and attacks that night. And first he slays one of Beowulf's companions. But then he reaches for Beowulf next, only to find Beowulf seizing him. And with that, the fight is on. And it is truly epic. Now, I won't spoil the whole scene for you if you have not read it, but the fight is awesome, and it ends well. The next scene involves Grendel's mother, who seeks to haunt Heorot yet again. This time, Beowulf attempts the same tactics as before, those which he used on Grendel himself, only to find that they do not work. And so ultimately he finds himself facing off against Grendel's mother in an underwater cave of sorts. And in this cave are other things as well. So Beowulf faces off against these two mighty, wicked monsters in the first part of the book. But then we jump ahead some 50 years or so, and there we find a greater beast than any before. A mighty dragon that everybody fears. And this dragon is laying waste to the entire region. You see, the dragon was sleeping on top of a hoard of gold. But a burglar came in and stole a single golden cup. Well, the dragon awoke and was not happy with it. The final fight is with Beowulf and the dragon, along with Beowulf's one faithful companion, Wiglaf. The story is told in these three stages, if you will. Three major heroic battles, encounters with monsters, in which Beowulf is progressively tested and tried. So that leads to the question, as this is the story, how is the story of Beowulf so awesome? Well, I want to initially list several reasons as to why Beowulf is so awesome. We will go with 4, And we could list a lot more, particularly about the nature of the poetry, the language, the mood, and other things. But I want to focus upon 4 in particular. First is that of heroism. Beowulf demonstrates heroism that is beyond that of normal men. At each point, he undertakes a task of fighting against the most monstrous and fearsome foes. 2 mighty monsters and a huge and mighty dragon. Beowulf demonstrates courage by fighting against monsters that no one else wants to fight and everyone else is afraid of. The great appeal of the story is that you have a hero, a good man who courageously fights against evil monsters who are murdering innocents. The hero puts an end to their bloodshed by his courage, even at risk to his own life. There is a sense of glory here where the hero notes the seeking of glory as part of what he is doing. But at the very end, he acknowledges that glory belongs to God, the Lord of glory. And so it is this heroic movement of the protagonist that is so appealing. The will to help others by fighting against evil. That is part of what makes this story so great. Secondly, there is greater dramatic tension as the story unfolds. The story does not proceed in a flat, linear manner, but each challenge that Beowulf faces is greater and greater. At first, he is an untested and untried man facing off against a murderous monster. No one knows how he will do against such a foe. Second, as he faces the next villain, Grendel's mother, he is tested yet again. He tries the same tactics that he used against Grendel, only to find that they do not work. And so now he must figure out a new way to fight. And then in the finale, he faces a greater foe than either of the previous ones combined. A foe which no one man can defeat on his own under normal circumstances. And so there is this heightening of dramatic tension here at each point. At each challenge, there is a question. Will Beowulf defeat this foe? At each point, he must prove himself worthy of overcoming this villain. This helps move the story forward as the tension aids in the plot. And this is part of what makes the story so enjoyable and exciting. Third, the fight scenes in this book are magnificent. They are filled with drama, filled with tension and excitement. In the first one, Beowulf and Grendel, we have no idea how this will go. It is a hand-to-hand fight. Who will win and how? And then in the second fight, with Beowulf and Grendel's mother, the previous tactics do not work, so Beowulf has to resort to other means. How will he emerge victorious? And then in the final fight with the dragon, he faces a fire-breathing monster. How can he defeat this beast? The fight scenes here at each point make the book, because Beowulf does not appear to be on equal ground with any of the foes at the beginning. But by the end, you will see how he will rise to the challenge and conquer each foe. The fight scenes are truly awesome, and they are really what make the book. But fourthly and finally, one of the reasons why Beowulf is so awesome is because of the character of the protagonist. In the early part of the book, we see Beowulf quite confident about his ability to defeat the foes, and he speaks of how in the past he has conquered sea monsters. But later in the book, it notes how he is actually a very humble man, and no one really knew how powerful he was because he did not boast like other men. He did not rant and rave like other men, nor did he pick fights with drunken men in order to slay them and boast of killing them. Rather, he is a man of humility. Moreover, he does not seek the crown from anyone else. and he only ends up taking it when all of the other legitimate claimants have died off. He does not seek power. Rather, he seeks to fight for his liege lord, his ring giver, and to bring his master glory and honor through his great deeds. And this noble character is what makes Beowulf so appealing. Some have found fault with the character of Beowulf because we do not see any flaws in him. No moral struggle, no questionable judgments or practices or behavior. But that really misses the heart of what is going on here with Beowulf. We see in him exemplary character, honor, and courage on display. And this is why he makes such a great hero. And so these are the reasons why I believe that the tale of Beowulf is so awesome. It is a fantastic story with a great plot, advancement of the hero towards a roaring climax, and an epic series of battles. And they show us a truly great character in the hero Beowulf. I do hope that you will pick up Beowulf and read it sometime soon. Tell us what you think about the story. Leave a comment below. Thank you so much for watching My Adventurous Song. New from My Adventurous Song. Quest for the Coryphon by Christian Richards is the latest exciting tale of heroism and courage. When 16-year-old Matthew Falstrom faces the destruction of his homeland by a previously dormant volcano, he doesn't know what to do. That is, until the medallion he's been wearing for years suddenly lights up, magically pointing the way forward. The wizard Galdric helps guide him, explaining that the answer lies in magical beings known as the Coryphon. But there's one problem. No one knows who or what the Coryphon are, or where they will be found. Together with Galdric and 5 other companions, Matthew will journey to the edge of the world, facing fearsome warriors, powerful wizards, magical creatures, and much more. He will reach his very undoing and finally learn if he has the power to save his homeland. Available now as an ebook on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kobo, and Google Play. See the links in our description below.